Okay, so the next question is, what function is not carried out by the liver? Breakdown of alcohol, the liver does that. Conversion of glycogen to glucose, it does that obviously. Formation of urea, liver is the organ that forms urea. Secretion of digestive enzymes, no. That is the function of the digestive tract, the pancreas and all of those. So the answer would be D. Which statement about root hairs are correct? The cell membrane can allow movement of water and ions into the cell. Yes, it does that. The cell vacuole extends into the root hair. Yes, we've seen the diagram. It does that. They are formed as an extension of the outer layer of the root cells. Yes. So all of these three are correct. So the answer would be A. Okay. The graph shows transpiration rates of two plants during one day. Both plants were grown under identical conditions. So the y-axis show the transpiration rate and the x-axis show the time. Right. This means midnight and this means midday. Which statement explains what the graph shows? So they're basically talking about the stomata. So if from our general knowledge we talk about this, over here the transpiration rate is maximum. This means that the stomata is open. When the transpiration rate would be maximum, the stomata would be open. And when the transpiration rate is minimum, that stomata would be closed. So plant X closes its stomata during the brightest part of the day. The brightest part of the day would be, okay, so the brightest part of the day would be the midday. So plant X closes its stomata. So when it would be closed, the transpiration should be minimum. So no, plant X does not close the stomata during the brightest part of the day. It opens the stomata and therefore the transpiration rate is the maximum then. Plant Y closes its stomata during the brightest part of the day. If we look at plant Y, this is the plant Y, and the transpiration at 12 is the lowest. So yes, it does close during its stomata during the brightest part of the day. X and Y close their stomata during the brightest part of the day. No, we don't. We've seen Y, and plant Y has no stomata. No, this cannot be true. Why? Because over here we can see that plant Y has the maximum transpiration. So transpiration is not possible if there is no stomata. So the answer would be B only. Some people have a rare heart condition in which the left lower chamber of the heart has not developed properly and is much smaller than the normal. The immediate result of the condition would cause lower than normal blood flow into which blood vessel? So we know that if this is the right side of the heart, it is going to go into the lungs, and the blood from the left side of the heart is going to go into the aorta and then to the whole of the body, right? So if the left chamber is small, then there would be less blood being pumped into the aorta. So the answer is pretty straightforward. It is aorta. Tissue transplants are normally rejected by the body unless the transplant tissue and the patient are very carefully matched. Which component of the blood is responsible for the rejection of the transplanted tissue? Plasma, no. Plasma is the liquid component. Platelets, no. Platelets are the platelets are what helps in the clotting. Red blood cells, no. They are basically the ones that transport the oxygen to the tissues and to the whole of the body. White blood cells, yes. White blood cells are the ones that sort of attack anything foreign that comes into your body, be that any microorganism, any virus, bacteria, fungi, or any organ that has been transplanted from another person, because that would also act as a foreign material. So yes, it would be the white blood cells. The diagram shows the movement of substances between blood in a capillary and the tissue fluid. So this is the capillary and this is the tissue fluid. By what process does water move from the tissue fluid to the capillary? Now, since we're talking about water, this would be a very straightforward answer. The answer would be osmosis, because whenever water moves from one place to another place, that is going to be via osmosis. Okay, an experiment is set up as shown. Test tube 1 and 2 contains lime water. This and this contains lime water. What does lime water do? Lime water is a clear solution that turns cloudy in the presence of carbon dioxide. Air is pumped through the apparatus. Now, when air is being pumped through, it would contain oxygen, it would contain nitrogen, it would contain carbon dioxide. But when air is flowing through this, okay, first let's just see what the question is. What is the appearance of the lime water in test tube number 1 and 2 after a period of 10 minutes? Okay. Now, air is being flowed from here. It is going to go over there. And this is the solution to absorb the carbon dioxide. So, carbon dioxide is going to remain over here, and then the air that goes from here. Now, this would contain only oxygen and nitrogen, right? Now, over here when it comes, so over here only oxygen and nitrogen have reached, right? So, test tube 1 would remain clear. Why? Because there is no carbon dioxide to turn the lime water that is present here cloudy. So we're going to cut out C and D. Right now, from here, when this goes over here, these are the living animals that are going to respire, and they're going to use the oxygen, and they're going to respire out or breathe out carbon dioxide. Now there is a new source of carbon dioxide here, which are these animals. So these animals are going to produce CO2, and now the air that goes over here is going to contain carbon dioxide. Therefore test tube 2 is going to turn cloudy because it has carbon dioxide. So this would be cloudy. So the answer hence would be B. Which equation represents anaerobic respiration in yeast? Now this is important. When anaerobic respiration occurs within humans, within muscles, the answer would be lactic acid and carbon dioxide, right? But since it is happening in yeast, therefore the answer is ethanol and carbon dioxide, right? So therefore the answer is D. It cannot be A because only ethanol is not produced. Ethanol and lactic acid, no, it produces carbon dioxide. So the answer cannot be B. And this equation would be truthful for muscle or human cells for that matter. The graph shows the rate and the depth of the breathing at rest. So at rest, this is the rate and this is the depth of breathing. Which graph shows the rate and the depth of the breathing during exercise? Now when we're exercising, there are two changes that are going to happen. The frequency of us breathing the fresh air in to give our body more oxygen is going to increase. So there is going to be an increased frequency of the breaths, right? So this means that there is an increased frequency, right? And we're going to inhale deeper and we're going to exhale for a longer period of time as well, so that all of the all of the carbon dioxide that has been accumulated in our lungs, we can push out all of that carbon dioxide as well. So we're going to have deeper breaths as well, right? So this is only showing an increased depth but no increased frequency. So no, this is somewhat similar, so this cannot be. If we look at D, these are increased frequency, but there is no increase in depth. So this cannot be the answer. So the answer would be C. So the frequency has increased as well, and the depths have increased as the depth of breathing has increased as well. How do the concentration of oxygen and urea in the renal artery compare to their concentration in the renal vein? So oxygen in the renal artery and urea in the renal artery. Now urea is formed within the liver and it is excreted by the kidneys. It is excreted in the urine. So when blood is coming from the body and it enters the kidney, so it would have increased urea because the kidney is then going to flush it out in the urine. So in the renal artery, oxygen obviously would be higher because it is coming from the lungs, and urea will also be higher because the kidney has the function of flushing it out. So it will receive all of the urea that has been formed within the body. So the answer therefore would be A.